Hey everybody, welcome to Urban Gardening Tips and Tricks with Michelle and Ashley. We're super excited for you to be here. And if you're listening in, just thanks for your time today. We're going to introduce ourselves. So, why we are here. So, I want to start with why I'm here. I'm Ashley, and I was visiting my parents a couple weeks ago in Pennsylvania, and I had to drive over 2 hours just to get organic produce, and that's just one way. So 4 hours just to get source food, and I bought these pears. And I was eating them and they were so yummy, but I happened to look at the tag and it said that they were from Argentina. And it just really blew my mind that we have we have food coming from all over the world. The food was 6,000 miles away, grown 6,000 miles away in Argentina, and then I had to drive another 300 miles just to get it. So it's just it really brought up where's my food coming from, and how many miles is it logging before it gets to my house? How early is it picked? And it just really inspired me to learn more and learn to grow my own food. And so I'm a mother of the little guy you see in the picture, and he's about 2 years old, and just wanted to find a way to incorporate him into our overall food journey and our life. And he loves helping me water the plants every day. So I'm, already, even before he's 2 years old, he's helping nurture food that's going to go on to nurture him. So that's why I'm here. And I want to introduce my lovely friend, Michelle. So take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. I love that story. So I'm Michelle. I'm from Northern Saskatchewan, and I'm a mom of four little girls. And the one in the picture, that's my youngest daughter. So I'm a health coach, and I'm busy, and I'm a health enthusiast. And basically, Ashley and I, we connected and collaborated because we love sharing, and we want to connect with other people that are like-minded. So I hope you enjoy some of our tips, and I hope we can learn some things from you too. So just to get started, I want to talk about why grow our own food. So I have a lot of my clients ask me, why would I want to grow my own food when I can just buy it from the store? So I've come up with a few reasons here why I want to grow my own food. Number one is flavor. So in many vegetables like corn and peas, these natural sugars, they begin to convert into bland tasting starch as soon as they're separated from the plant. So the sooner you eat something after it's picked, the better flavor it'll have, right? So this is why garden vegetables taste so good. Nutrition. Ideally, plants are picked when the level of nutrients is highest, right? Which is when it's ripe, sorry. And we all know this is picked much before it's ripe. So immediately after harvest, the nutrition value begins to fall. So if it's picked before it's fully ripe, we're missing out on many nutrients. Then if it has to be distributed throughout the world, it loses nutrient and taste every single day. So something kind of funny, Ashley, I didn't ever mention this to you, but like 2 days later, after you had told me that, I was eating a pear, and it was also from Argentina. And I'm like, we are probably eating the same pears. And Ashley lives in California, and I live in Northern Saskatchewan. So I thought that was kind of funny. Economy. So hundreds of years ago, states grew the majority of their food for their citizens, right? And now almost all states, including agricultural ones, they get the bulk of their food from outside the boundaries at a really, really high cost. So as more of our products, our produce starts coming from huge farms thousands of miles away, the economy of many rural communities have suffered. So you can really support the economy by buying local and by having your own garden. and environment. So it's been estimated that each bite of food from the US has been hauled an average of 1,300 miles. And that's from the farm to the market before it's even being eaten. Transport of fruits and vegetables is especially demanding on the environment. So refrigerator trucks, they require even more gas than regular trucks, and a lot of food goes to waste. And self-empowerment. So I'll let Ashley talk a little bit about self-empowerment. Oops, are you there, Ashley?
Sorry, I was muted. I really believe that growing your own food can be one of the biggest ways to empower yourself. Because one, it allows you to take control of your health. You have the ability to grow what you want, when you want it, and at the quality and quantity you want it. So you're able to really take control. You don't have to depend on what the local grocery store has to offer. It really helps you to regain autonomy because you, again, are not depending on the system in order to nourish you and your family. And third, it allows you to know your food. Like Michelle was saying, the flavor, the texture, like you get to watch a seed go from this tiny, tiny little thing, sprout up and grow nourishing food. You get to know and get to have a relationship with your food, which is so empowering. It's such a beautiful thing to be a part of your evolution, because the food you put into your body reproduces cells, especially if you're a mom or someone who wants to be a mom listening in. Like, the food you eat grows your human. Like, that's how they grow. And grows all of our cells and our hair and our nails. Fourth, it allows you to find your place in the earth's rhythm. So, growing certain foods during seasons that they're more bountiful, or for example, if pears aren't supposed to be eaten this time of year for Michelle and I, that it should be okay that I can't buy a pear. It doesn't have to, I don't have to be able to eat it all year round. It should only be eaten when it's in the season that that it's supposed to naturally grow in. So you're also a part of that by growing your own food. And that leads into this, the fifth bullet point, a partnership with Mother Earth. Like, you are giving back to the earth. Like, we are pretty much pillaging the earth by adding industry and just toxins to the air and GMO seeds and pesticides. So you're giving back by choosing to grow organic, and you are the environment. So giving back to you and your family. And then you're able to model a healthy lifestyle and way of life for your family. Because like I said, if I can get my almost 2-year-old and Michelle can get all 4 of her children, and so many of other of our clients can get their families involved in growing their own food, it teaches them something they can't learn in a book. You can't learn how to nurture something in a book, but you can learn it through experience, and it just magnifies the benefits. So I definitely feel like growing your own organic food can empower you so much. So why is organic important? There's so many reasons why, but I just listed about 6 bullet points here. So if you don't know much about like genetically modified organisms and pesticides, they're really, really harming our environment and our bodies. But why organic is so important is because it reduces toxic chemical residue in your body. So the more organic food you eat, the less residue of pesticides is building up. And what's even more scary of a thought is pesticides build up way more heavily and way more quickly in children, and their organs can't detoxify them as quick as ours can as adults. So what are we doing to our future generations? This is so important. This is a dialogue we should be constantly thinking about. Even if you aren't a parent yet, you should just understand the value of creating a vessel that's just pure. And so it provides increased nutritional value. So like Michelle was saying, when a fruit or a vegetable is picked when it is ripest, you're getting the full nutritional value. But so much of everything you see at the grocery store is picked way before it's actually supposed to be picked, and it's kept in these trucks and gassed the whole way to wherever it's going to keep it from ripening. And then when it gets to the grocery store, they then put another gas on it that allows it to get the color back. It's this absolutely crazy process. And if you're interested in it, there's so many YouTube videos describing the miles between harvest and your table. It benefits the environment because when you're growing organic, you're not spraying pesticides. It takes 7 years for a farm to replenish its soil. So if you plant even just 3 GMO seeds on a 10-acre farm, it will take 7 years to get that farm back to being qualified to grow organic. That's how much pesticides are affecting the environment, and that's how long-term it stays in the soil. So if staying in the soil for 7 years, can you imagine how long it's staying in your body? It avoids damaging effects of food additives. So many of the foods that are picked prior to being ripened are then added back. You see this word fortified on so much of our food. It's because the food it doesn't have the nutrients and the minerals and the vitamins that it's supposed to have because it's so processed and so heavily sprayed with pesticides. And then just avoiding the effects of GMOs altogether. There's nothing conclusive. Every study that's been done is funded by Monsanto. So that's against GMOs. So there's nothing conclusive to say that GMOs are safe. And there's a lot of evidence to prove that people who have cancer and heart disease and asthma and ADHD and so many other ailments have built up residue of pesticides. The main component of pesticides is glyphosate, and they're finding it in breast milk. It's just absolutely crazy. And then again, providing higher levels of minerals, nutrients, and vitamins and antioxidants, because the food that you're purchasing, which is organic, is a natural seed. It's not genetically modified. It wasn't made in a lab. It's made in the earth. So just think about that. Like, a genetically modified seed is made in a lab. Do you want to eat something that's made in a lab? No, I don't.
No.
Check your wife.
Okay, that's why eating organic is so important. Awesome. Okay, so a lot of people, the reason we created this is because there's so many people out there that don't believe, they say they have a black thumb, they say they don't have the space to grow their own food, they say that they are in an apartment and they don't want to build a garden, or they are renting and they just don't have the space or the time. The next couple slides are food that you can actually regrow from kitchen scraps. So this is just utilizing something you usually throw away to grow more food. So as you can see in the picture here, we have some onions, some romaine lettuce, and in the back, I think that's lemongrass. And so what you do is you take the bottom part, so the white stalk, or no, those are green onions in the glass. So you take the white stalk of the green onion, or this bottom part of the lettuce, or the bottom part of an onion. So you could chop an onion in half and just set it in water in sunlight, and you will start to grow food from a scrap that you would have thrown away. And it's super simple. One major thing that I make sure that the water is purified and doesn't have a lot of fluoride in it. And the food will grow quicker and just be more nutrient dense. And then these are a few other ones. Pineapple, you can cut the top of a pineapple off and put it in water, and it will actually start to regrow. And the lettuce, the celery, the carrots, and the onions, and yeah, those are all ones that you can just put in water and regrow. That's it. You don't even need soil for those. So I think on the next slide, there's a picture of celery. That's celery. Someone just put celery in a coffee mug. Like, you don't even need these crazy contraptions that cost a lot of money. You just use what you have in your house. I also think it's really awesome, because I use a ton of garlic. You can grow an entire clove of garlic, like a whole plant of garlic, from one tiny little clove. So what you do is you can put it in it doesn't have to be a big dish. I would say like this big of a plastic dish. You just put some soil in it and put the clove with the point down and the other point up, and you cover it with some soil and you water it, and you keep it in it doesn't have to be direct sunlight for garlic, but you want to keep it in sunlight, and it will regrow, and you'll be able to keep growing more and more cloves of garlic just from one tiny little clove. So again, eating healthy doesn't have to be super expensive. People all the time tell me, Michelle and I are both coaches, and people all the time tell me, oh, I can't afford organic. You can regrow your own organic food super easily with things that you would just throw away. So try this at home and tell us what you think, and send us pictures. We want to see.
Yeah. And then one other thing, like, that's really good way to reuse food is throwing in your leftover scraps and peels all into a bag and keeping that in the freezer, and then making vegetable stock later on.
Yeah.
So another thing that I love to do is sprout my own seeds. There's actually a sprouting seed farm that's not too far from where I live. And basically, I mean, you're going to be getting that plant nutrient from a brand new plant that's just been picked. So it's so high in nutrients. It's excellent source of enzymes, high in amino acids, the building blocks of protein, right? And then it's antioxidant rich and rich in chlorophyll, which is a powerful blood cleanser. So there's so many reasons why we should be eating sprouts, and there's so many different kinds of sprouts that we can eat. What do you need to do it? So you need a jar, anywhere from 1 to 4 liters in size, and then you need a bowl. Basically, the bowl is just so that you can have it upside down, your jar upside down, to drain water out of. So just something to keep your jar on a tilt. And then you need a screen or netting with a rubber band, some fresh water, and then seeds with good germination. So you can actually buy special sprouting jars or trays for this too. So that's maybe what they use here. It could have been the top of a fly swatter or something. But I like to have, when I first did it, I actually used like a nylon from a patio because that's all I had, and it was just kind of messy. And so eventually I just bought one of the special sprouting jars, and I really like it. So this is how it works. So you soak your seeds, and it depends on the type of seeds how long we soak them for, but it ranges from 2 to 6 hours. And that's just the first time you want to soak them for that amount of time. And then you rinse them, you drain them out, and then 2 or 3 times a day from then on, you're gonna rinse them with fresh cold water. It's really important to rinse. We don't want any bacteria to grow in it. So just fresh cold water 2 times a day. But keep in mind the seeds are very forgiving. So if you accidentally forget and you're like, they're gonna look kind of dry, just throw them in some cold water, let them sit for a little while to kind of like moisturize back up, and then just continue on. Then you want to invert the jar on an angle to allow water to drain. So you don't want it to pool at the bottom. You want it to leave it upside down for it to drain. And then lastly, just enjoy. So sprouting seeds is fast, and you can eat in as little as 2 days. So I just have a list here of some different types of food that you can sprout and the amount of time to soak. So some of them, like chickpeas, they say up to 12 hours to actually soak. But in like 1 to 3 days, you can be eating these sprouts. Another thing that it seems quite obvious, but a lot of people don't do it, it's planting your own herbs. And we all know how expensive herbs can be if you use a lot of fresh herbs in your cooking. But having them in your house is so simple and affordable. So what I do is I soak my seeds in water for a couple hours, and then plant. That you obviously want to fill that plant pot with your soil, and then plant seeds 3 times deeper than the width of the seed. So I like that because I'm always looking on the back and like, how deep do I plant these? And it's just like kind of a rule of thumb. And so I really like it when I read that. And then you want to place in your south-facing window if you can, so it can get its max sunlight. And only water when the soil surface is actually dry to the touch. We don't want to overwater. Another thing to think about when harvesting is we want to harvest when we know the herbs are ready when the flowers bud, and then we want to cut at least 4 to 6 inches above the base of the plant. And we want to cut herbs in small quantities, so you never want to cut more than 1/3 of the plant at a time, otherwise it can have a really tough time surviving. These are my favorite herbs. They're really easy to grow in a house, and you can use them in lots of different recipes. And lots of really great nutrients in them. Another thing that I love, and I own one of these, is a vertical aeroponic growing system. So basically, on the left-hand side, you see the picture of that's rock wool. Where I planted the seeds in there with vermiculite on top, and that's where you sprout your seeds, and then you transplant them into this. So this is called a tower garden, the picture on the right, and you can be eating lettuce and herbs and other things like within 30 days. It grows so fast. So why do I love the tower garden? It honestly is so easy. I have had a garden for years, big garden outside, and I get busy with my life and my kids and going away on weekends, and I come home to weeds everywhere, and I'm like trying to find my vegetables, and then I'm bringing my vegetables in the house, and I'm washing them and drying them and cutting them, and I'm like, I want it so bad, but it's so much work. So I love my tower garden. There's no dirt, there's no digging, there's no weeding and washing. No daily watering too, so you don't have to worry like, oh no, it hasn't rained, I better get home and water my garden, or like me and like leave your sprinkler on for 24 hours and like accidentally flood your garden. It's beyond organic, so that just means that they tested the pesticide levels on the tower garden vegetables, and they were less pesticides, less like anything, of course, than organic. So really, really cool there. It's the lights and the water on timers. It grows 30% faster. That is huge. 30% faster than in a garden, and it uses 90% less water and 90% less space. Like, take that in. That's so huge. You can go traveling with no worries, as like I said, you don't have to worry about watering it and worrying about how much light it's getting and everything like that, and how many weeds are growing, and really no green thumb required. So really, it's the future of food. We're using 90% less space and 90% less water. So it's something that we can really provide to people that can sustain life for a long time. My family eats on this all year round. We live in northern Canada, which we have like 8 months of winter, and we eat this year round. We don't have to worry about buying from stores at all. And I'm constantly just picking things off, like filling my bowl right from my tower and throwing it into smoothies or eating it like a salad. Ash, you want to talk about these microgreens?
Yeah, so we just got the microgreen kit for our tower, and it actually allows you to grow 32 more plants on the tower, and it's so quick. Like, we just planted the seeds on Sunday, and they're already at least a half an inch high, like sprouted a half an inch high, and we'll probably be able to eat them within the next 6 days. So, and again, like same with harvesting the herbs, you don't harvest the whole plant. You just harvest you can harvest over half of the microgreens, and it keeps growing from that same seed over and over and over again. So you can eat microgreens like all day, every day. And what's great about microgreens is that I think there's like 9 times more nutrients in a microgreen than there is in a stalk of romaine lettuce. So you can have, and then there's so many different flavors, which I love. Yesterday I was at the farmer's market, and they gave me this little souffle cup, and there was 6 different microgreens in it, and all they did was squeeze a little bit of lemon and olive oil and salt and pepper, and it was so delicious. Like, my 2-year-old loved it. Like, that, I gauge everything. Like, if he'll eat it, the world will eat it, because he's a pretty picky eater. So it's really amazing to be able to grow this much food. I mean, you saw Michelle feeds our family of 6 off of this. It's, I mean, you know, it is the evolution. It is the future of growing food. You know, living in Southern California, we are constantly in a drought. Like, we cannot water our plants between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Like, that really limits the amount of food you can grow in a garden. But this is different. Like, this waters itself all day. And the reservoir is 20 gallons. So it just it repopulates the water. And you don't have to fill the 20-gallon reservoir, but maybe twice a month, which is huge. Like, much less water than a garden in the ground.
We actually, in the community where I am, we have 6 tower gardens in our high school, and we have 1 in the elementary school, and the kids are learning about it right there. And some of their family members have them in their homes, and it's just like, it's so cool that they're learning this right from a child.
Yeah, and if you have kids, or you are interested in like just seeing an amazing human doing like the most amazing things, and you like to read, or you just want to watch a video, his name is Stephen Ritz. Just type it into YouTube. He's got a ton of videos. He's taken the poorest congressional district in the entire United States, in his high schools, where he works with special ed children who are just written off, like, oh, they're just going to go to jail or whatever. And he's taken them from a 30% graduation rate to almost 100% graduation rate, just by bringing food and teaching the children how to grow their own food. Like I said, you cannot teach children how to nurture something from a textbook. He shows them how to provide food for their family right in the classroom. And they take this food home to feed their families, who, again, like I said, are in a very, very poor and impoverished area, and they can't afford the organic. A lot of these children had never even seen a tomato, never even seen it. So now they grow it themselves. They put green, like they've beautified the Bronx. They've put green growing gardens in every single food pantry and pretty much all of the schools. So it's just amazing what he's done. And this is just only the beginning. He's really the pioneer and the catalyst for this. So, once you get your own tower garden and your children start to see the benefits, you can just visualize this being in their school and how beneficial it would be for all of the children in the district that you live in. So we want to thank you so much for joining us. I'm also an empowerment coach and just I work with energy and yoga and mindfulness and meditation. And I can't think of anything better than growing your own food. I don't think of any other way to empower. And this is one of the best ways to empower yourself, because it is a form of self-respect. And again, you gotta nourish to flourish. So one of the things, I'm going to leave you with this. One of the things Stephen Ritz says is, my favorite crop is organically grown citizens. And you can't grow a citizen. You can't grow a seed without a proper garden, without proper sunlight, and without proper water and growing material. So, our communities are that, and our bodies are the ones that are benefiting from this. And what better to do than thank our bodies for keeping us alive and thriving. So again, this comes full circle. Like when you watch a seed grow from this tiny, tiny little, I don't even know how much it weighs, this like tiny, tiny little seed into this beautiful plant, you can just attribute that to every little thing in our lives. Like all of our children, us as humans, we grow from this little embryo into these beautiful, flourishing beings. So it's just, I can't talk more highly of it. It's such a beautiful cycle of life, and you have the opportunity to be a part of it. So thank you so much for joining us. I am so grateful. If you have any questions, please private message Michelle or I, and we'd love to answer them. And again, if you are someone who's listening and you're like a pro at gardening, we would love to hear your tips, because we want to spotlight you on our future gardening calls. So thanks again, and we look forward to meeting all of you soon.